Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome. Should be yet another great late night conversation. Had a very, very busy weekend, but a lot was accomplished. I'm going to tell you all about it, but we're also going to talk about the news, the tragic events that just took place in Gaza, as well as this event that happened in Maryland and a lot of other things. So it's going to be a great conversation tonight. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell, and away we go.
Spoken of the American century. I say that the century on which we are entering can be and must be the century of the common man.
A radical redistribution of economic power.
I mean, we know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people.
We need a government that will make sure Americans are taken care of and organize the economy to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few.
We now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty.
We got to start getting out there with the people.
Get out of the movement and get to the masses.
We need a government of action.
Welcome, everybody. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. The way we do things on this channel is first I give my opening remarks. That's what it is, that I want to talk about, news events, current events, etc. Then after that, we do the roll call. We find out who is on the other side of the camera, who's watching. Always fun. And then after that, we then answer super chat questions for the rest of the night. So if you're on Rumble and you want to send us a Rumble rant question, by all means. If you're on YouTube, send me a YouTube super chat. Get me talking. Give me something to talk about in the second half of our show. Good stuff. Now, couple things real quick, couple announcements. First things first, it does look like I'm headed to Los Angeles for an event on June 7th. Not 100% confirmed, but we do have a flyer. We're revising the flyer a little bit, so the public announcement should be coming, within a couple days. So June 7th, Los Angeles, event themed around peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula, a DPRK kind of solidarity event that we're having out in Los Angeles. Monterey Park, June 7th. Mark your calendars. The poster is being tweaked a little bit, and I should have that soon. So if you're out in Los Angeles, send me an email, calebmoppin@gmail.com, or message me or whatever. And, gather your friends and family, because it's going to be an important event about peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. And that's coming up. So I'll be in Los Angeles. Mark your calendar, June 7th. If you're in LA, Monterey Park is where I'll be. So mark your calendar for that. That's the first announcement. Second announcement, tomorrow, there's something very important happening on this YouTube channel, which is that the video from the World Youth Festival, we had a lot happened at the World Youth Festival. A lot happened. My goodness, StreamYard just doesn't want me to share images, but that's okay. So yeah, but anyway, so I was going to put the thumbnail on the screen, but it's not letting me. But tomorrow at noon, the video of the Center for Political Innovation activities at the World Youth Festival, our meetings with communists and anti-imperialists from around the world, is premiering. It's called A New World is Coming, CPI at the World Youth Festival 2024. And you know that one of the big things that happened at the festival was I got to talk to Russian President Vladimir Putin, as did Noah from our delegation. Two members of our group got to directly interact with the Russian president, which was very, very awesome. So make sure you watch tomorrow. Video premieres at noon. It's about an hour long film. And we're going to give you a preview of it tonight at some point. I'm going to show the first 5-10 minutes of the film just so you can see what it is. You may have seen my interaction with Putin before, but you haven't seen this film, right? We meet with the communists in Nepal. We meet with the communists of Vietnam. We meet with the Cuban communists. We meet with, there's so much in this film. We did so much on this trip. And, it's taken us a while to put this film together because we had so much footage to go through. We were in Russia at the World Youth Festival. So much happened. So I'll give you a preview of it later in the broadcast tonight. It was really, really, really special. So that's tomorrow. So if you're in Los Angeles, come see me on June 7th. Love to meet you. We're going to have a great event about peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula, Monterey Park, June 7th. Poster coming soon with all the address and details and all of that coming out. Second thing, tune into this channel tomorrow when the video premieres about our involvement in the World Youth Festival, which that relates to, peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. Another thing, very, very special thank you to everyone who donated to make this booklet possible. And I will tell you more about what we did with this booklet at the Libertarian Convention. I will tell you about that later in the broadcast, but let me just say it was a smashing success. Smashing success. Shout out to Peter. Shout out to Tristan. Shout out to Jonathan. Shout out to Paul. Everybody who helped me on site, hand out these. I don't want to get too far into it. We saturated the convention. There is no way that anyone who attended the Libertarian Party convention is not aware of this, did not have an opportunity to read this. 1,000 leaflets, 1,000 pamphlets goes pretty far. But anyway, I'll tell you all about that later. But special thank you to everyone who helped us print this booklet, and you'll see the video later. So those are the big announcements that I got. Right. So, those are what I've got. Quick reminder for how this channel, how these live streams work. First, opening remarks. Second, roll call. Third is me answering your questions. So if there's something you would like me to talk about in the second half of the show, send a super chat on YouTube or a Rumble rant on the Rumble. All right. So I'm jumping into my opening remarks now. First things first, there was a horrendous massacre in Rafah. A refugee camp was attacked. Brutal. The images that are coming out are utterly, utterly horrendous. Just utterly horrendous what Israel did. Netanyahu's calling it a mistake, right? Just like it was a mistake when they blew up that hospital, just like it was a mistake when they murdered those American medical volunteers, just like it was a mistake. We've had, how many mistakes at this point? 60,000, 50,000 mistakes. Give me a break. Right. But October 7th, right, is supposed to make it all okay. Right. Israel is supposed to have a license to kill as many people as they want now. Right. Because October 7th was bad. And so, Israel just gets to do whatever they want. And if you criticize, you must hate Jews. You must be an anti-Semite. Right. That's, anybody who could possibly not think what Israel is doing is just A-OK. It's just because, you secretly, you just hate the Jews. It's just ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's horrendous, but it's ridiculous how some people are able to turn a blind eye to it and just pretend that it's all okay. It's all okay. It's all fine. It's not fine. And anyone with a conscience is saying that this is absolutely abominable what Israel is doing. And that actually relates to our main story for tonight, which is about something that happened much closer to home in Potomac, Maryland. Now, Potomac, Maryland is part of the United States that has a Shia Muslim community. There's Iranian Americans there, there's Pakistanis, there's Arabs who are of Shia belief. And so in Potomac, Maryland, they had a prayer service to commemorate the Iranian president who just died in a helicopter crash. It seems pretty reasonable enough. The head of a major country dies, and so the people who have sympathy for that country are from that country themselves or are religiously affiliated with that country because that country is considered kind of the capital of world Shia Islam, despite the fact that there is differences. Not all Shia Muslims support Iran. It's kind of a sliding scale, right? Some are very, very big supporters of Iran. Some are very, very critical of Iran. But to some degree or other, among Shia Muslims, there is some sympathy for the Islamic Republic. That's pretty universal. The question is how much, right? But regardless, the Shia Muslim community in Potomac, Maryland, they gathered to have a ceremony to commemorate the life of a head of state who died, which makes perfect sense, right? You can imagine that, if the president of the United States were to perish, you can be sure that Americans or people who sympathize with America in India or in China or in South America would probably gather. There's nothing really unreasonable about this, right? This wasn't a protest. This wasn't a rally against the United States or against Israel. This was an indoor prayer service for a president who died. Okay. Now, regardless of what one thinks about the politics, right? Maybe you don't like the Iranian president, whatever. You can understand that this is a perfectly reasonable event. However, the Iranian opposition, which are people that have fled from Iran, people, most of whom are admirers of the Shah, the brutal U.S.-backed dictatorship that was there before, as well as the Zionists, the big supporters of Israel, and they walk hand in hand. You'd be surprised by this. They couldn't stand that anyone would dare mourn the loss of this prominent president of a country, a head of state. And so what did they do? They had a big protest outside of the prayer service. And you can see, they attacked this woman. This woman was just walking into the prayer service. She's an observant Muslim. She's dressed in her full hijab, more traditional with the black, more full hijab, right? And she just walks through the crowd of protesters to go to this prayer service to commemorate a head of state who tragically died. And they swarm onto her. Watch this video. Watch it for yourself. Now, can you imagine what it would be like? She's just walking to the prayer service, and already there's like a crowd of people swarming onto her like this. Can you imagine going to your church on Sunday morning and having a mob of people outside pointing their phones at you and yelling at you? It gets worse, though. Oh, look, there's the Israeli flag. And I love that they have the Israeli flag there, because a lot of these Iranian opposition claim that they're against Israel, right? The Shah of Iran said anti-Israeli things. And, they always try to claim, oh, no, we're just against the Islamic Republic. We don't work for Israel. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. The Iranian opposition, the people who want to overthrow the Islamic Republic, they are Zionist agents. They've even got the Israeli flag there. They make no pretense about it. But yes, this woman is trying to go pray at a ceremony to mourn the president of Iran. And people start running at her with their phones and yelling at her and taunting her. See, he puts his hands on her. Now, keep in mind, in traditional Shia Islam, like this woman touches, men and women are not supposed to touch each other at all unless they're married. But hands are put on her. I guess it's a woman, but like they grabbed her, basically. She's just trying to walk into the prayer service to commemorate the head of state who died. This is a hateful mob. Could you imagine, right? We're supposed to hate the protesters at Columbia University because they stand there with free Palestine signs, and it makes, Zionist Jewish students cry, right? It's just, they just can't take it. But yet, we have an Iranian woman or an observant Shia Muslim tries to walk into her place of worship to commemorate a president who died, and a mob attacks her, right? If anything like this were to happen to Jews on American college campuses, there would be hell to pay. But this happens in front of a place of worship. Now, I want you to take note of the flags there. So they've got the Zionist Israeli flag, and then they've also got the old Persian flag, the flag of the Shah of Iran, which is, it's got the lion with a sword underneath it. That's the Pahlavi monarchy flag. So he's got the flag of Zionism in one hand, and he's got the flag of Nazi collaborating Pahlavism in the other hand, right? I mean, it's very classic, right? And they're all just ganging up on her, right? And she's explaining her position, and then someone grabs her, and look, there's hands on her, multiple hands on her. I mean, it's a scuffle. Look at this, and she's just trying to walk into her place of worship. Unbelievable. Can you imagine? Again, people with those Israeli flags are saying that, oh my God, there were students at my campus who said free Palestine. And I mean, I just walked past them, but oh my God, that triggers me because, yet this woman is just trying to walk into her church. She's just trying to walk into her place of worship, practice her religion, which is her freedom, right? Her freedom of religion, right? In the United States, she's trying to commemorate the death of a foreign leader, a head of state. And the response to her is this mob of people waving the flag of a former dictatorship that collaborated with the Nazis, as well as the flag of a country that's bombing and murdering Palestinians. They all just mob and swarm onto her like this. This is insanity. This is utter insanity. And then there's hands on her. She's being touched. Right? I mean, this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. Right. And it just goes to show you, as long as you are acting in line with American imperialism, right, as long as you're pro-Israel, as long as you're, anti-Iran, as long as you're anti-Russia, the law doesn't apply to you. Right. I mean, they have thrown so many college students in jail because, God forbid, they said from the river to the sea. But this is allowed in America. Right. You can just have mobs swarm on to women who are trying to go pray, right? Nate says you'd be surprised how racist many Iranian diasporoids are toward Arabs. I'm not surprised by that at all, right? And that's actually one of the main appeals that Donald Trump made in his speeches against Iran to the separatists. One of the main appeals he would make is he'd say, "Oh, Iran is wasting all its money on Arabs." That was a common talking point among the Pahlavists or whatever, is that Iran spends too much money helping Arabs. But anyway, I just wanted you all to see that video, right? The next time anyone tries to tell you about how bad these students at Columbia supposedly are, take a look at that video, right? And say, "Oh, really? I guess they should be doing this." Right. I mean, look at this video. This isn't even in like a major city. This is like in the middle of nowhere. It's in Potomac, Maryland. I can't even see another building. Right. Just trees. It's like, what is with these people? Right. How far did these nut jobs drive just to harass women on their way to pray? Right. No, this is Potomac, Maryland. Potomac, Maryland, my friend. And what is wrong with these people? Right. The head of a country died. She wants to go pray at a prayer service for the head of the president who died in a helicopter crash. These people are just so mad that anyone could dare feel sad about a political leader dying who they didn't like, that they engage in this kind of activity. Utterly reprehensible. This mob, right? But it's the same. These are the same people that rounded up all kinds of people and disappeared them during the time of the Shah, right? The Shah was known to torture people and disappear people. And everybody in Iran has a family member who got disappeared or at least got detained and tortured by the Shah. It was common, that every family, every community knew somebody who was either killed or tortured by these people, right? So now they've fled to the United States, which embraces them, right? The Pahlavi monarchists, they all live in Southern California, and some of them live in other parts of the United States. Looks like those ones live near DC. Funky says, "This reminds me of black children being bullied while trying to go to school and learn. It does. I mean, it's nuts. It's utterly nuts, right? And it shows you how vicious, right, some of these constituents can be. And why is that not on the front page of every newspaper? Why is that not being blasted all over American television? The USA says it's so tolerant and open, and we love Muslims here and all of that. Well, that's what happened when I mean, and so I just wanted to get that out there and let folks be aware that happened. And someone, the same dynamics you see with reactionary Cuban exiles. Oh yeah, the Miami Cubans are very similar. These Iranians used to bully Black Americans at IEC. I don't know what IEC is, but doesn't surprise me at all. I will never forget. I mean, I've had many experiences. The USA, this is just something I'll comment on, right? Here in the United States, it's a weird thing, right? Especially now that we're doing the whole woke thing, there should be a real problem here. I will never forget when out in front of the White House, I went to the rally called by the Answer Coalition to protest in support of Libya, against the bombing of Libya. And as I was walking toward the White House, there was a group of anti-Gaddafi Libyans from North Africa, that were counter protesting. How dare anyone support Gaddafi, right? And so as I'm walking, one of these, anti-Gaddafi Libyans grabs me by the wrist. And I'm just walking to the rally. He doesn't know who I am. He grabs me by the wrist. And he says, "You look like a nice young man. Don't go over there. That's just a bunch of niggers that Gaddafi pays to protest for him. Don't go over there." He says that to me, right? He says the N-word, right? And he's saying to me, "You're a nice man," meaning you're white, right? He's saying, "That's just a bunch of N-words, that Gaddafi pays to go." I shook my hand loose from him and I walked over to the protest. And I mean, this guy was pretty dark skinned himself, right? But I guess he was from North Africa. He considered himself to not be Black. He considered himself to be lighter skinned or whatever, Moorish or Arab, but he says that to me blatantly. And he's making an appeal to me as a white person, basically. You don't want to be with the Black people, do you? That's what he blatantly says that to me. Right. And it was weird because the crowd, the crowd that was supporting Gaddafi and supporting Libya was not majority African American. There were a lot of Black people there, many of whom were from the Ivory Coast. They were protesting the U.S. bombing of the Ivory Coast. But that's not the first time I've encountered this. When I was in college, the Ukrainian community in Cleveland, right? If you go to, I went to college at Baldwin Wallace College, which is in the suburbs of Cleveland, right? And if you go to Parma, right? Parma Heights, the Ukrainian community there is very massive, right? And you will hear Ukrainian, diaspora folks. They will say good things about Hitler all the time, First, it starts with Stalin killed more people than Hitler did. And then it starts with Hitler wasn't so bad. He actually wanted to free us from the evil communists. And they would just say the most blatantly pro-Hitler things. And I would point out to other people, like they'll start telling you, these are people who are saying the Holocaust didn't happen. These people are saying that Hitler wasn't so bad. And they all just said, "Oh, but Caleb, they lived under communism. Communism is just so bad. You have to give them a break. Communism is just so bad. It makes it okay to be a Nazi." And my jaw would drop and I'd say, wait a second. Communism is just so bad. It makes it okay to be a Nazi. How does that work? How does that work? Right? How does that work? That communism is just so bad. It makes it okay to be a Nazi, makes it okay to be a Nazi. Right. I mean, how is that work? How does that work? How does that work? I mean, that's just unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah. It's just unbelievable. 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 Sorry, I just wanted to check on one thing. Anyway, folks, it's just, I want you to know how awful these diaspora communities can be. They can be pretty awful. And I mean, there's just this tolerance for their racism. There's this tolerance for their bigotry. There's just this tolerance for it because they're on the right side of U.S. foreign policy. And I wonder how that works now in the age of wokeification, in the age of everything being woke. I wonder how that works, right? But it's just like how, the woke people on the internet, it's, the woke people on the internet, everyone's a Nazi. You're a Nazi. I'm a Nazi. Everyone's a Nazi, except the actual Nazis in Ukraine. Right. And the people in Ukraine can march to the streets with a picture of Stepan Bandera, and they can have torchlit marches, and they can wear swastikas and all of that. And for some reason, all the woke people just don't notice that they're Nazis. Right. But, everybody who is not 100% politically correct is a Nazi. I mean, it just shows you how much all of the woke rules are selectively applied. Right. They go after people who are dissidents who oppose the liberal order, and they don't go after people who don't. And it's really that simple. It's not about what you actually do, right? And I think that that's been made abundantly clear. And what I've urged people to do is that if you're a socialist or a leftist or whatever, stop trying to please these people. You will never please them, right? You will never please these people. So stop trying. No matter what you do, the woke people will find a way that you're a Nazi. They won't notice the Ukrainian Nazis. They won't notice the racists backed by the US government. They won't notice that. But no matter what you do, you're going to be a bad person, right? Unless you stop being anti-imperialist, unless you just completely abandon all your beliefs, no matter what you do, they will hate you. So you just have to stop trying. You have to just say no. You have to just say no to leftism. I am at the point where I've said I've broken with the left, right? I have spent my entire adult life in communist groups, and I still consider myself a communist. I'm from that tradition. I believe in God. My beliefs have shifted. I'm more in line with where the global communist movement is, where countries like Vietnam and Nicaragua and China are today. That's where I'm at. I'm not a dogmatic person who's stuck in the past, but I'm very much a communist. In the sense of the global communist movement, which, but the left, the so-called left, the communist groups that have been around for 50 years or 60 or 70 years, those groups are completely useless, and you can't please them, right? And no matter how hard you try to use all the right pronouns, and you denounce Trump 100 times, no matter what, you will never be not a fascist, right? In their minds, right? You will never be acceptable. And that's what I wish people could just get through their heads. And that kind of brings me to the Libertarian convention that I went to this weekend, right? I don't agree with the Libertarians about economics at all, but I realized there's a lot of people at that Libertarian convention that are against the wars. A lot of people at that Libertarian convention want to free Julian Assange. A lot of people at that Libertarian convention want to end U.S. aid to Israel. A lot of people at the Libertarian convention who want to, want trade with China and trade with Russia. A lot of people at the Libertarian convention who are totally in line with us on a lot of issues. And so we printed this pamphlet. Do you believe in growth? Why Russia and China keep rising while U.S. society stifles innovation. We printed it, 1,000 copies. and we distributed this at the Libertarian Convention. And I got to tell you, we still have some left over because we couldn't put it anywhere else. We saturated that place. Every table, every stall in the bathrooms, every person we could get to take it, we handed it to. We saturated the place with these pamphlets. There were pamphlets on everybody's chair. There were pamphlets on the tables. There were, I mean, it was, it was everybody got one of these, right? We just blanketed the place in it. And thank you, Paul, and thank you, Peter, and thank you, Jonathan, thank you, Tristan. I mean, we got the job done. And we got this everywhere. We got this absolutely everywhere. We got it everywhere. We got it everywhere. And it was great. And I will say that even though there's obviously disagreements about economics and policy, I had nothing but hugs, right? Somebody asked me how many people offered to give you a helicopter ride. And the answer is 0, right? In real life, people are decent, right? Especially if they run a minor political party, right? They want anyone to be there to support them. And I was there interviewing them about their views. I was there putting out a supportive message. And yeah, I did not experience one bit of hostility at the Libertarian Convention. There were a couple people who maybe didn't want to take the pamphlet. That's it. I did not experience one bit of hostility. No one was rude to me. No one wanted to have an argument with me. People were nothing but polite. People were nothing but, there were a couple people, oh, I'm not interested in that. No, thanks. That was it. Right? I mean, it was amazing. It was just absolutely, utterly amazing. And we're here handing out this pamphlet about Russia and China and about socialist economics and anti-woke communism and stuff. Oh, thanks. I'll take a look. And I interviewed people about Julian Assange, and I interviewed people, and Donald Trump spoke. I got to go to the event where Donald Trump spoke. And, and it's weird because when I go to the Palestine rallies, which I also agree with, there's generally people who threaten me at those events. There was one group of people, I went to cover the Palestine rally, and they ran at me, and they surrounded me and my cameraman. And I said, we agree with you. We're RT. We're very sympathetic to your message. And they said, that's just because of some Russian imperialist bullshit. And they proceeded to tell me that they were going to beat me up and they were going to find me and beat me up. I mean, these are thugs, right? These are woke thugs, right? The woke people want to murder me. And they advocate violence against people who are the wrong kind of communist because the internet, said you're bad, they want to murder you, right? Whereas, if you go to, you go to the Libertarian Convention, these people don't agree with me at all, but okay. Oh, I'll take a look at your pamphlet. Okay, interesting. Oh yeah, I'll tell you about why I support Assange. Oh yeah, I'll tell you about my button that says abolish the FBI. Polite people. And it's weird because in the comments section of this video that we made from the Libertarian Convention, I had all these people angry with me for going to the Libertarian Convention. And I said, well, I've been going to communist events for years. I've been going to lefty events for years. And I've been going to those events for years. And and I haven't been making much progress. The left seems to have lost its mind. It's degenerated into the pronoun police, and the murder all Trump supporters movement. And whereas libertarians are people that genuinely want to stop the wars. They're people that genuinely want to stop the wars, generally want to stop the police state. They just don't want to, and they don't have good ideas about economics, but they're genuinely in opposition to what the deep state is doing. Whereas the left is not. The left is engaged in this political grandstanding. They want to show everyone how moral they are. They want to denounce America as a racist country and show that they're good, right? And, the libertarians seem to have a lot more people that genuinely want to stop the wars. And so then in the comments, people are mad at me. Caleb, why can't you work with other communist groups? I've spent my entire adult life working with other communist groups. I was in Workers' World Party for 8 years straight. And after that, when we formed Students and Youth for a New America and we formed CPI, we were nothing but friendly to the Communist Party. We were nothing but friendly to PSL. Our first in real life event and the Saxton Lectures had 2 PSL members and about 7 CPUSA members at it. The first in real life event we've ever had. We were nothing but kind to the Communist Party. We were nothing but kind to PSL, but these people are FBI agents, right? I mean, the FBI controls PSL. The FBI controls CPUSA. And they were very hostile to us because we're really anti-imperialist, because I really work for RT. I've really met Alexander Dugin. I really believe what I'm saying. I'm not interested in doing their woke pronoun thing. So you ask me, why don't you work with other communist groups? I mean, we work with PCUSA, Party of Communist USA. They're a communist group. They're friendly to us. We don't agree on everything, but we have a lot of dual members and we work with them just fine, right? There's other communist groups that have 1 or 2 members that have joined CPI. We're not opposed to working with other communist groups, but other communist groups are genuinely quite opposed to us and make it abundantly clear. Whereas libertarians who don't agree with us, let me emphasize, libertarians who do not agree with us are very happy that we're there. I got nothing but kind treatment, right? And Angela McCurdle greeted me, said, oh, so glad that I was there, made sure that my press credentials and everything was in order. I will work with people who want to work with me, but when people make it blatantly obvious that they intend to be physically violent against me, right? When people spread rumors on the internet that you're a Nazi with the intention of killing you, right? The Party of Socialism and Liberation, the Communist Party USA, these random people at the Palestine rallies, these people are violent thugs who are working for Joe Biden, and they don't want me to cover their rallies in a positive way, and they don't want CPI members to collaborate with them on anti-imperialist work. You don't want my help. I'm not gonna, I don't understand, if somebody doesn't want you someplace, why is it then my obligation to go there, right? I can understand some circumstances where one might do that. Like during the early years of the civil rights movement, for example, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. really didn't want the Communist Party to participate because he was afraid that the government would accuse the civil rights movement of being communist. And CPUSA members still kind of snuck in. And that might be a situation where, the civil rights movement was so important that they found a way to do that. And that makes sense. There's times where you might do that kind of thing. But I don't think Dr. Martin Luther King and his supporters beat up and threatened to murder the Communist Party. They just said, can you not be there? And so they left their signs at home, etc. And they still found ways to support the civil rights movement, right? It was a little bit of a different situation. So again, there might be circumstances where if some political movement is blatantly hostile to you, you still try to find a way to support them. And I do. I still cover the Palestine rallies. And I have made it abundantly clear. I support the students at Columbia. I support the Palestine protesters. I support their right to free speech. They are not anti-Semitic. They have a very, very bad strategy. I'll just tell you that much. They are going out of their way to alienate the American people and to hurt their own cause. But that said, their cause is still just, right? Stopping the bombing of Gaza. So I support the Palestine protesters. Even if they don't like me, even if they've been primed to hate me, I still support them because the cause is just. I think that they're going about it incorrectly. And I have made clear what I think the correct way to do this is. The correct way to do it is to say Israel first is not good for America, right? Is to say America first, not Israel first. Money for jobs and schools in America, not weapons for Israel. And that is the message that we've put forward with the Center for Political Innovation. We've been saying, wouldn't it be better to have roads and bridges that don't collapse and that in America than letting Israel continue to bomb civilians and getting us involved in Israeli atrocities? Wouldn't it be in the interest of America to provide health care to our people rather than giving money to Israel so they can give health care to their people while we don't even have it for ourselves. There are arguments that can be made that are very appealing. If you don't frame it as Israel versus Palestine, you frame it as who should be our priority, the American people or the Zionist murder machine. Most people in the United States say America should be the priority. You've already won the argument. But the Palestine movement doesn't do that because it's run by Brian Becker and it's run by George Soros and it's run by people who are working very, very hard to try and alienate the American people and push Trumpers, many of whom are anti-Israel, into the pro-Israel camp by making Palestinian protesters synonymous with the woke people that they cannot stand. And it's a pretty tragic thing. There are a lot of Trumpers. I mean, look at the fact that Candace Owens is criticizing Israel at this point. Look at some of the things Vivek Ramaswamy has said, defending Palestine protesters and opposing cancel culture against them. There's a lot of Trumpers that don't support Israel. But rather than try to make an appeal that could actually have a mass base among the population, the approach of the Palestine movement is to try and attack average Americans, block them from going to work, drive to Starbucks and order. I'd like to order an end to genocide. Just do everything they can to alienate the American people so that the American people who hate wokeness link wokeness with Palestine, right? And that's a problem. That's a little bit of a problem. The main funder of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, Tyler, and you're a naysayer, so whatever I say, you're gonna have some no. But I'll just respond to that. And I don't generally respond to the chat, but I might as well since we're on a kick. We got a few other things to talk about. The main funder of the Party for Socialism and Liberation is a billionaire named Roy Singham. And he pays for something called the People's Forum, and he pays for the Tricontinental Institute, which is Vijay Prashad, and that it's paid for by a billionaire named Roy Singham, who does business with China and is sympathetic to China. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? And I think, getting funded by somebody who has who wants us to have a better relationship with China, I don't see anything wrong with being funded by it. But don't make it sound like it's just average Americans in their mom and pop stores are funding Brian Becker. No, right? No. PSL is a well-funded operation, and I am convinced that it's been enabled by the American government because PSL hates the working class. The Party for Socialism and Liberation hates the working class, and the Party for Socialism and Liberation goes out of its way to alienate the working class. And they are part of the woke hysteria. They think all conservatives are Nazis. Their objection to Joe Biden after January 6th was he didn't imprison enough January 6th people. Right? I mean, Brian Becker actually said this. He was mad they didn't lock up more people. All those grandmas, all those people that they imprisoned after January 6th, 25 years, 50 years in prison, 60 years, wasn't enough, right? I mean, he literally wants Joe Biden to be the dictator of America. He wants it to be illegal to be a conservative. He wants it to be illegal to be against abortion. Listen to the tone of there's a member of CPI who was in PSL for 2 years. And the entire 2 years he was in PSL, they did nothing but protest in support of abortion and protest against Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, can you think of two issues that are like not going to unify the working class? Abortion, right? All Muslims, forget it, right? Catholics, forget it, right? Right there, right? Not going to work. Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, when I first heard about the Kyle Rittenhouse case, my initial instinct was, fuck that guy. It's just some conservative wanted to kill some liberals. But actually, as the details came out, I started to think, no, it actually, you find out the people attacking him also had guns. You find out the details of the situation. He didn't kill black people. He killed white people, and those white people were a threat to his life. And I didn't go over the jury, the details and the evidence in the same way the jury did, but I don't think that's a slam dunk case. I think he may have been a conservative, and he may have been a not nice person, and he had absolutely no business being at that protest. But is he a murderer? I'm not sure I think that's the case. I'm not sure that's the case. And, but those are the two issues. Basically, PSL, it stands for people scamming liberals, right? That's all they do, is they're trying to scam the liberals. They're communists, but they pretend to be liberals, and whatever the latest trendy liberal cause that liberals are protesting around, abortion or Kyle Rittenhouse or whatever, they reserve the permits, they set up the stage, and they have the rally, right? They pushed vaccine mandates, right? And they wanted longer lockdowns, right? All the Uber drivers and all the people who were just devastated by those lockdowns, PSL wanted longer lockdowns, right? It's absolutely criminal. So, we're going to oppose the Party of Socialism and Liberation. And again, we wanted to get along with them. There were 2 PSL members. I'm not going to tell you their names, but they were if you watch the videos of the Saxton lectures, kind of the first in real life PSL event, there were 2 PSL members who attended, right? We were not against PSL, but PSL launched a vicious hate campaign against me personally and against the Center for Political Innovation. PSL members routinely advocate violence against the Center for Political Innovation by calling us white supremacists, calling us neo-Nazis. And their message is that it's okay to be violent against a leftist. And what they're trying to do, what their strategy is, right, is they see how the Uhuru movement has been indicted, right? The Uhuru movement has been indicted by the federal government, right? And PSL pretends to support the Uhuru movement, but they tried to sabotage their rally. They had a big march in Washington, D.C. that they'd planned for years. They tried to sabotage it and mess with their permits. And basically, PSL is hoping that the government will indict CPI and accuse us of being foreign agents, drag me out of my bed in the middle of the night and all that. And they want to make sure that no socialists or leftists will support us when that happens. That's what they're trying to do, right? And they know exactly what they're doing, right? And their hate campaign against me is designed to psych up the public for the persecution of CPI. And that's what Brian Becker is doing. And it is definitely directed against me and everyone in my organization. So if you think that that's somehow acceptable, but they organize Palestine rallies. Well, they organize Palestine rallies in a way that is intentionally designed to not win people over. Meanwhile, they are trying to throw me in prison and they're trying to destroy the Center for Political Innovation. And all they would have to do, all PSL would have to do is just tell their members, you know what? We don't agree with Caleb. We don't agree with CPI, but they're not Nazis. They're not white supremacists. That's obvious. They have people of color in their organization. They advocate racial unity. They're not Nazis, but they don't do that, right? Instead, they have actually oriented their members to spread lies about our organization because their goal is to help the government repress us, right? And that's why, whether they know it or not, PSL are government agents. That's why they get billions of dollars and they've set up their operation. That's why they're enabled to run the Palestine protests, because they're running them in a way that they will never win over anybody. But anyway, we spent way too much time talking about the Party for Socialism and Liberation because at the end of the day, we don't want to recruit them, right? We don't, right? We shouldn't really care about the Party for Socialism and Liberation because they're not trying to recruit the masses of people. They are trying to be stage managers of wokeism. And so we're not. We're trying to get out of the movement to the masses. We're trying to recruit the kind of people that would never even think about joining PSL because they would be off-put by their horrendous woke message. So at the same time, we can complain about them and we can explain why we're a different group, right? And I'm going to block, I have no interest in naysayers. I'm going to block the naysayer. But we, at the same time, right, we want to get lower and deeper to the real masses. So it's important to know why we have differences with other socialist groups. It's important to talk about it, but at the same time, at the end of the group, none of those groups matter. None of those groups matter. And that's why I'm not in favor of left unity, right? You got all the little tiny communist groups in America to unite into one party. That party would still be tiny. It would have maybe 10,000 people in it at the most. And in order to get them all together, which would never happen, you would have to accommodate all of the insanity and all of the, idiocy that has kept them that small for so long. So we have no interest in unifying the socialist groups. We want to unify with the masses, And the Libertarian Party has a lot more of the masses with it. So we were really honored to go to their convention, right? And they're very anti-Israel. I heard Scott Horton, he spoke from the floor of the convention, and he said that that Israel first is treason to America. That's what he said. It was like bold in his speech. We might put that speech on, later and react to it, because it was a bold speech that he gave on the floor of the Libertarian Convention. I was on the floor and I chanted and applaud. I shouted in agreement. It was great. It was a great speech that Scott Horton gave on the floor of the Libertarian Party convention. It was absolutely tremendous. So I might actually put that on a little bit later. We'll see. We'll see. Right? We'll see. If I can find the video. Can't seem to find it. That's weird. All right. Well, I saw the video earlier. Maybe I'll be able to find Scott Horton's speech and put it on. It was a pretty good speech in my opinion. But anyway, I'm just going to start out by showing you. I'll stop it in times and we'll talk about it. I'm going to show you some of our intervention at the Libertarian Convention this weekend, if you haven't seen it already. So here we go. It starts out with Angela.
Without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
We just got to the Libertarian Party's National Convention. Look at that. Look at that. Here at the Washington Hilton. What do you think, Peter? This is pretty swell.
So far, it's been pretty awesome. Met a lot of great libertarians. Trying to find a home here, seeing if there's a place in this party for me. If a guy like myself who's kind of like a libertarian socialist of sorts, who believes in central planning, that it can work, who believes that Medicare for all is a human right, where do we have a home here? Do we have a place here? And there are some people in the old guard who don't like me, don't like my ideology. They still say that stupid stuff like, you want to kill us. Like, no, we don't. I got a lot of friends, you'll meet them. My good friend Caleb will be by. We don't want to kill you. We just want to find a way we can come together to fight back against this machine.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nick, and I am a libertarian because I am pro-peace. I am pro-whistleblower. That is people like Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, the Boeing whistleblowers.
Julian Assange should be freed, being locked up for heinous reasons. He has released information that has led to the discovery of atrocities in the Middle East and corruption all over the world. If we can't have good, actual information like that, there's no reason that we should have any free speech in the first place.
Free speech is under attack. He did nothing wrong. Reporting shouldn't be a crime.
Free Assange.
Free Assange.
So your button says abolish the FBI, abolish the CIA. Tell me about that.
Well, I just think we need less federal government and less federal agencies.
They're driving for World War III. They're attacking our civil.
Hey, I got to say, at the Libertarian Convention, I didn't hear anyone supporting the FBI, right? And if you go to communist groups now, they all support the FBI because not opposing the opposing the FBI is right wing, Caleb. Opposing the FBI makes you a Trumper. I didn't hear anyone not supporting Julian Assange, people in Assange t-shirts. And now if you go to communist groups, if you support Julian Assange, they go, but he said the racist thing on Twitter. I didn't hear any of that, right? I heard people that support Julian Assange. I heard people that oppose the FBI. These folks don't understand economics. These folks, ideologically are a bit off, but they're against the U.S. imperialist state, which at this point, the left is just a wing of. So I think that makes a point. Also, it was really great to talk to Don DeBar. Shout out to Don DeBar. Don DeBar, he went to Libya with Cynthia McKinney. I've known him since the Libyan war days, a great anti-imperialist. And it was really great to sit down with him and have a brief chat during the convention. So I clipped some parts of our chat for the video.
They're allowing the United States to crumble economically. They're January 6th, they should all be free. Blanket amnesty at this point. The FBI made that happen. Sure, a lot of them may have done things they shouldn't have done or whatever, but when we know the government set that up, at that point there should be a blanket amnesty for all January 6th people.
So your buttons say abolish NATO and abolish the UN. Tell me about that.
Well, both NATO and the UN work for the military-industrial complex. They're both about spreading wars. They were established and they lie and say that it's about keeping peace, but have we seen peace? We have. There's not been a year of my life where the United States has not been at war.
I agree with the libertarians. Our freedoms are being taken away, right? I mean, the government is tapping our phones and listening to reading our emails and violating our freedoms left and right. You know, they had stop and frisk in New York City. That was a gun control policy. Yeah, right. Now they have these no-knock raids and all of that.
No kids in cages. They have abolished the NIAID, which you know a lot about, all these CIA covert wars. They even had a pin that said, no human is illegal. So there are leftist libertarians here, and it's kind of awesome being there, and this thing is just growing over here. This is the third party.
What are the disagreements within the Libertarian Party? Because I know there's a lot of internal strife and stuff. What's going on?
It's whether to embrace Donald Trump or not.
Oh.
Some lots of people don't like Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Fine. Some people like Donald Trump. That's fine. It's on a high level. It's a strategic difference. Mm-hmm. Lots of people say that Donald Trump, his brand is eventually it's going to crash and burn. And where does that leave the Libertarian Party?
So we're in the hall where Donald Trump is going to be speaking in a few minutes. He's going to give his speech in a few minutes. So big crowd of people here. Not all of them Trump supporters, I'll tell you that much. It's going to be interesting to see how the crowd reacts to Trump.
Trump has done a lot for the United States. I think he's probably the best president we've had, in my opinion, since Ronald Reagan.
Do you think he can stop World War III?
I think he could stop World War III. And I think when he was in there, I mean, you saw other countries respect the United States. Now the United States is a laughingstock.
Angela McArdle, chair of the Libertarian National Convention. Loud.
What a beautiful crowd.
Are you ready?
Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. You know, I also invited Joe Biden, and he did not attend. We have an incredible opportunity tonight, and I'm really grateful for it. Never in the history of the Libertarian Party has a former president and front-runner candidate for the presidency come to speak specifically to our concerns. Thank you all for making history with us. I want to continue this trend, so let's work towards that. I really appreciate you all. And without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
If you post a meme they don't like, they want to throw you in jail if you do something that isn't quite to their liking. And I am proud to be the only president in 70 years who started no new wars. I took on the military-industrial complex. I broke the stranglehold on neocons and warmongers on the Republican Party. And instead of war, I made peace in the Middle East, something nobody thought was possible, and dealt with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, where a nuclear war was guaranteed to start in a very short period of time if Hillary Clinton became president. I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled, so we quit spending hundreds of billions of dollars to fight other people's wars, and so that we start immediately saving thousands and thousands of lives. And I am committed to restoring peace and restoring stability. And if you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.
Ross is a campaign to pardon Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht is serving, I believe, 2 consecutive life sentences for creating a website where people happen to sell drugs and guns and things like that. But frankly, given the way that Facebook is treated or anything like that, wouldn't Zuckerberg be in prison for the same damn thing? Anyway, the campaign to free Ross Ulbricht is about the fact that he created a website. What people chose to do with that website is their own business, and he should not have been in prison for it. FreeRoss.org, check it out.
Right, and economic growth is what it means to be human, right? We were hunter-gatherers in the woods, and now, just 8,000 years later, we've invented space travel and iPhones, and we've done amazing things. And we, at this point, the problem is not growth, as some people would say. The problem is that we have a system where abundance creates poverty.
Yeah.
Poverty is created by abundance. You know, people are homeless because there's too many houses. People are hungry because there's too much food. Self-driving cars should be a great thing. In a rational society, it'd be great if no one ever had to drive. That human labor was no longer necessary. But in our system, that would lead to mass unemployment, etc. This is not rational. We need to do what they've done in China and in Nicaragua and other countries, rationally organize the economy so that small businesses can flourish, so that working people can have economic security, so people can start their own enterprises, you know.
I've heard a lot of libertarians who think China is good, who think Russia is good. Like, is that a common view?
Yes, it's like these are not our enemies. Maybe it's governments are the enemy and oppression is the enemy, and it is very much individuals unite.
What do you think of high-speed railway?
Oh, I love it. I love high-speed railway. I would love to ride a high-speed rail from LA to Las Vegas.
Very good. Yeah.
All right.
Be good for our economy, right?
Yeah. Amen.
You like fusion energy?
Yeah, I love it as well. I've dipped my hand in the cooling tower reactor of 3 Mile Island.
It's interesting because, years ago I wrote an article really criticizing libertarians. And I said, how can libertarians like Russia and China so much when both those countries have a very state-run economy? And I got a very astute response from a libertarian. And they said, well, Caleb, yes, Russia, their economy is centered around state-controlled oil and gas. China has 5-year plans and state-run industries. But you have to admit, both Russia and China have a way bigger middle class and way more small business owners than America does. And they treat their middle class and their small business owners way better than America does. And I thought that's actually a really good point.
All right, so we're out of all the pamphlets we have. We got the last stack of them in the car. It's been going really, really well out there. A lot of sympathy. What did you guys hear?
Really great things. I think people are very interested.
I thought people were really enthusiastic about this idea that growth is good, that we need to stop spending so much damn money fueling this forever war that rages all across the world.
The response to the leaflets and the pamphlets has been phenomenal. I have never talked to so many people who support Julian Assange, who want to end the wars. This is the place to be.
Yeah. Actually, that's one indication. That's one. They're pretty good. I mean, they're very interested. A lot of them like growth.
And then a lot of people that are libertarian, they see the government as a tool of the big monopolies to crush small business owners, right? And so I don't blame them for wanting to get the government off our backs, right? Unfortunately, I think that they're going to have to come to the conclusion that just kind of getting the government out is not going to cut it. They need a government that punches up, right? A government of action that will fight for working families. That's ultimately what they're going to need, and they're going to have to learn that through the course of seeing, what's in store and as the crisis intensifies. But I think the road out of the crisis we're in right now is an anti-monopoly coalition.
And I think that a lot of leftists who believe in freedom of speech, freedom of press, and they're non-interventionists, they can find a home here in this party here. This is the third party, and this is the party of nuance, is at least what I say.
Angela, I think that these are the people that are worthy of a certain level of, hey, can we allow ourselves to give these folks that are working very, very diligently a little bit more grace, empathy, energy, and support. I want to run that back. You're an adult male that is grabbing the mic and telling a woman in a public space, like that's just low class shit. And I'm not saying like you can't think it, and I'm not saying you can't even say it, but I can say if you're gonna say that, it's art. You're putting your art up, and the world can critique your art, and we're gonna critique your art. And you may not like the outcome. So those people are kind of special to me.
It does kind of confound me that you consider yourself a communist, and I really want to try to understand you, and I'm going to do my best not to put words in your mouth. I really want us to be an example for other people on how to have a productive dialogue, and I hope that if the communist revolution ever happens, you'll remember that, and I'll be one of the last ones up against the wall.
Sure.
But why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your background, and let's kind of like dig into just like kind of the basics.
Well, I guess I'll start out by saying I don't think it's just opposing war that we agree on. I'm also against the vaccine mandates. I'm also against tech censorship. I'm against the surveillance that's going on and the violation of our civil liberties. I'm against the emerging police state. I'm against a lot of these trade deals that hurt American jobs, et cetera. So I think that there is quite a bit of overlap beyond simply the issue of anti-war. But I'm an Irish American. I'm from a small town in Ohio. Are you Irish as well?
I am.
Yeah, I years ago, I met an Irish cop in Cleveland, and he said that he heard an expression that when an Irishman gets off the boat in a new country, the first question he asks is, does this country have a government? And if the answer is yes, he says, well, I'm against it. So I think we're both true to our heritage in our own way. Yeah. So, I'm really glad. I think we really accomplished a lot. We got 1,000 of these out. And I mean, we didn't get 1,000 out because we got as many as we possibly could get out. I mean, the place was thoroughly saturated with these pamphlets. It was every corner, every corner of the place. I mean, there was not a person who didn't have an opportunity. Everyone there had an opportunity to get one of these. And I'm aiming for the people that are driving back to Pittsburgh or driving back to Alabama or flying back to Texas or flying back to Alaska, who open this up on their way home, and it gets them thinking. And I feel like this was an important amount of outreach, and I really appreciate how our community came together. Shout out to Carl, the Trinket Man. Carl made this happen. Carl, did the layout, very last minute. Shout out to Steve, who did the cover design. Shout out to everyone who donated to help us out. I mean, there was so much that we churned this out very quickly, and it was very professional, a very professional piece to spread our message. I'm really, really proud of our community for what we did. I am very proud, and I'm hoping that we can do another printing for the DNC, another printing for the RNC. I think this is the message people need to get. Peter Coffin, shout out to Peter Coffin, who did some great edits and gave some great feedback on the texts, made it better and made it hit more effectively. We did a great job with this. So I'm very good about that. Also, shout out to Peter and shout out to Peter's friend, Ian. We actually did something else on Saturday, unrelated to the Libertarian Convention with it. We drove down to Baltimore on our way to DC. And in Baltimore, I interviewed Reverend Annie Chambers. And Reverend Annie Chambers was a longtime member of the Black Panther Party and a longtime member of the Communist Labor Party of Nelson Peary. And so I did a half-hour interview with Annie Chambers about communism and about her Christian faith and how she, as a Christian minister and a communist, led the Black Panther Party in Baltimore and led the Communist Labor Party in Baltimore. And it was a really dynamic discussion. She talked about her meetings with Fidel Castro. She talked about what communism meant to her and her experiences with Nelson Peary, a writer that I quote a lot. That was amazing as well. We had an amazing interview with an important organizer of the new communist movement of the 1970s, who's also a Christian minister. And that was amazing. So the video of that is going to be edited and it should be online very soon. So, keep your eyes out for that amazing video. That is coming up. And I'm very excited about that. So I guess we'll do the roll call at this time. Names and locations, folks. Names and locations. I will call you all out as I see you. Names and locations, names and locations. I will call you all out as I see you. Who is with us here tonight? Names and locations, names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations, names and locations. Who's with us? Omar says, hey, everyone. Welcome, Omar. Names and locations. We got Nick in Las Vegas, Nate in Chicago, Bob in Troy, New York, Alex Rickle in Oregon, Chicago, Illinois, Lawrence, Patch in Arizona, Tony in Tasmania, Steve in Boston, David in Vietnam, Jenny in Cincinnati, Lake Superior, Alberta, Canada, Brad in Cleveland, St. David's, Bermuda, Eric in Holland, Tyblee in Pennsylvania, Frank in Jagger, Florida, Jeff in Studio LA, Molly McGuire in Orange County, Omar in Toronto, Ontario, Zach Bunch in Richmond, Virginia, Master Jack in South Africa, Long Beach, California, Denver, Colorado, Mohsen from Iran, Cyrus from Cornwall, Alex in Brazil, Cleveland, Dustin Schlesinger in Cleveland, Ohio, the Seasoned Noob in China, Dan in the Los Angeles area. Got your email. We will be in touch. Chris in Salt Lake City, Kieran in London town, Toey in Sweden. Welcome, Toey. Names and locations, names and locations. I will call you all out as I see you. Tampa, Florida, Herb Bryant. Welcome, Herb. Good to have you with us. Tampa, Florida, Herb Bryant. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Neil Fraser in Hong Kong. Balthazar in Oakland. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Names and locations, names and location. Mark in Utica, New York. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Folks, couple things. First of all, let me say it again, if you didn't hear me earlier, if you're in the Los Angeles area, I am going to be speaking at an event in Monterey Park on June 7th. Details to be announced. We're tweaking the flyer. It's an event about peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula, an event to support our Korean comrades and struggle against the division of their country, to move toward peaceful reunification. I'll be speaking at that event in Monterey Park. The poster is on its way. It'll have the address and everything. So if you are in California, specifically in the LA area, or you want to come to the LA area, send me an email, calebmaupin@gmail.com, or Twitter message me, or contact me somehow so I can make sure you get the information. Abel from Wisconsin, because I would love to meet you in person. I'm invited as a guest speaker at a church event, an event put on by a church about peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. I'm very honored to go out there and give this talk. So I'm looking forward to it. So if you're in the area, make sure you hit me up so I can make sure you have the information. It's going to be really, really great. Just wanted to get that out there. Now, the second thing I wanted to point out is that, at this point, I don't have any super chats to answer. And that's a bummer, because the second half of the show is me answering your super chat questions. So I would encourage you in the next little bit to send me some super chats so I have something to react to. Give me something to talk about here in the second half of the show. But super chats are also important, not just because they are necessary to give me something to react to and questions to answer in the second half of the program. On top of that, super chats are important because they are a way that I can pay my rent, because I now have a 2-bedroom in Brooklyn. I need to have a 2-bedroom in order to do my job, in order to have this home studio where I can stream every night. But the rent is too damn high, as they say. The rent is too damn high. And because the rent is very, very high, I very much need to at this point, have super chats come in to enable me to answer questions and help pay my rent and support the channel. And I need your support. So if you can think of something you'd like me to talk about in the second half of the show, please send a super chat or a Rumble rant. If you can send a Rumble rant, that's on Rumble, or a super chat on YouTube, that would be great. So what I'm going to do tomorrow at noon, Tomorrow at noon, there's going to be a very, very good, video on this channel about our CPI activities at the World Youth Festival. So I'm going to show the first little bit of it, the first 5-10 minutes of that video that'll premiere on this channel tomorrow. It's called A New World is Coming, CPI at World Youth Festival 2024. And it's about the World Youth Festival that we went to, where we got to talk to the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, where we got to do a lot of exciting stuff at this global anti-imperialist gathering in Russia. So I will put the link in the chat. A New World is Coming, CPI at World Youth Festival. I will put the link in the chat. It will premiere tomorrow at noon, and I will put the link in the chat. There we go. I'm dropping it in the Rumble chat as well. There we go. It was a really, really great event that we went to, the World Youth Festival. So the video will premiere at noon tomorrow. And now I'm going to give you a sneak peek. Here we go.
Youth festivals are very, very important to my organization in particular, the Center for Political Innovation. Every meeting that we have, we begin with the pledge. We've changed the word youth for people because we have people of all ages, but we begin, we raise our right hands, we pledge that we shall remember this unity forged at the end of the Second World War, not only today, not only this year, this week, but always, and the pledge goes on. But that is such a beautiful pledge that came out of the World Democratic Youth Federation. And I must say that the youth festivals represent the best, not just of this country, but of America. A time when we stood in solidarity with Russia to defeat fascism. And they're trying to erase that from American history. And they also want to erase the fact that Russia came to the aid of Abraham Lincoln and stood with Lincoln in our effort to defeat slavery. Russia supported us in the American Revolution, saying that they could retaliate against people just for coming to conferences or just for speaking up and opposing it. And so we are prepared for that. We are preparing, we are speaking with the UN mission of Russia about having a press conference with attorneys prior to our departure in March or in February, and making clear that our travel and our participation in these events is in full compliance with U.S. law. We will not be breaking the U.S. law in any conceivable way, and that it's completely legal to do what Joe Biden should be doing, and reaching out to the people of Russia and reaching out to the people of the world, and not building walls and not putting up sanctions and not isolating people.
So now the words go to Caleb Maupin, the chair of the U.S. delegation, and he also represents the Center for Political Innovation.
Welcome, everybody. In October, I was deeply honored when the youth office of the Russian Foreign Ministry reached out to me about forming a national preparatory committee for the upcoming World Youth Festival set for March in Russia. As someone who attended the World Festival of Youth and Students in 2013 in Quito, Ecuador, someone who attended the festival that was held in Sochi in 2017, as an advocate of socialism, peace, and international cooperation, as an American patriot, as a Christian, and someone who strives to live according to the teachings of Jesus Christ, I considered this to be a great opportunity. However, it is the circumstances of our upcoming trip that bring us here today. As we meet here today, Jesse Neville, Penny Hess, and Omali Yeshitela have been indicted by the U.S. Department of Justice. They are facing a possible 15 years in prison. Their trial date was just set for September. The Biden administration has charged them for doing what we are about to do, for going to an international conference in Russia. The Biden administration has declared that they're putting on some Zoom calls, writing some articles about Ukraine, that has been conspiracy to act as a foreign agent. And this case is absolutely outrageous. It's an attack on freedom of assembly, freedom to travel, freedom of speech, and freedom of association. And it's designed to intimidate Americans from doing what we plan to do, visit Russia and question U.S. foreign policy. In light of this horrific indictment, it is very important that we go to Russia to show that we will not be intimidated and to take responsibility for the future amid the utter failure of the Biden administration?
Hey, everybody. My name is Noah Schenk. And one of the reasons that I am so excited to be able to join the World Youth Festival is that we will be able to meet with youth from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Right now, it is illegal to travel to the DPRK under U.S. law. And that's really unfortunate in light of the escalations on the Korean Peninsula. We have to remember that the DPRK is a nuclear-armed country, and these escalations, they could be very dangerous. That's why I think it's so important that, in combination with the fact that I, as a Korean American, feel a deep kinship with the Korean people, and I want to see them joined, that's why it's so important for us to meet with them. We've published a book to give to them, and we want to really show them that there are Americans in the United States who do not hate the North Koreans. Not only do we not hate them, but we respect them. We admire their revolutionary tradition. We admire how they showed support for the Palestinian people in their struggle for liberation. We admire how they welcomed the Black Panther Party into their country and showed support for Black liberation and for the liberation struggles around the world. It's just going to be a real honor to be able to meet with them.
Thank you very much.
All right, so it's morning here in Sochi, just getting ready to go and get my accreditation at the festival. Yeah, tell me about Vietnam.
Hello. Vietnam is very special nation in the world. We want to welcome all the friends in the world to come to the Vietnam.
All right.
We're from Brazil and we are here in the World Youth Camp. We're here to celebrate and increase our friendship between the countries and just for peace between all of the countries, even like the United States and the Russian Federation. We should all be friends and not enemies.
All right, we're just heading over to the accreditation center. Good to see you. Yeah. All right, so we're walking into the festival. This is the first time we're seeing things, so very nice. What do you think, Noah?
It's absolutely beautiful, and I mean, you can just see there's so many people enjoying it, and it's only going to get more full. You know, some of our friends who came in, you know, they're still waiting in line just to get their accreditation. We did it last night. They waited till this morning, and there's that many people just excited to come and, you know, celebrate friendship between different countries.
Yeah. And it's great to see the American flag here. With all the flags of the festival they've got, the American flag. Caleb being indicted. All right, we're going to skip ahead a little bit. So how's it going, Noah?
Doing good, Caleb. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm really excited. As you can see, there's a lot of people hanging out, getting ready for the festival. I think we're waiting for a bus. We're waiting for a few of our comrades to get done.
Счастье! 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 Счастье!
нас и после нас. Возможно, это и есть жизнь. Мир меняется.
Зачем я здесь? Кто я?
So we're here at the festival. This is the first day. I chatted with the Iranian delegation as well as the delegation from Belarus. Just amazing to be here at this very important international gathering. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot of important meetings to connect the Center for Political Innovation with people around the world struggling for peace and independence and economic development against imperialism.
Okay, tell us your name.
Hi guys, my name is Alex.
Very good. And what brings you to the festival?
Oh, actually, I'm working here on the festival. I help people to interact with Russian social medias, and also we have a place you're welcome to.
Okay. So, what do you think the purpose of the festival is?
The purpose of this festival is definitely the communication and interaction of people of different countries, uniting and integrating in Russian culture for people all over the world.
Welcome on World Youth Festival. Давайте порепетируем. Давай, на английском. Давай, 3-4. Welcome World Youth Festival. Welcome. Welcome. On.
Okay.
Hey, my name is Noah. I'm from the United States of America.
Your first impressions of Russia?
Well, when I first got here, my first impression was like, it's just so amazing that I'm able to come here. It's so beautiful here. Everybody's so welcoming and friendly, and they're so happy to meet you. When you tell them you're an American, they're like, oh my God, they let Americans in. You know, it's very exciting.
So it looks like they have a makeup display put on by the Russian airline, Aeroflot, kind of the state-run airline here in Russia.
There you can relax, recuperate, and recharge for new achievements.
What kind of biases did you have before coming here?
Well, when I got here, I would tell my friends, they'd say, where are you going? I saw you took time off work. I'd say, oh, well, I'm going to Russia for the World Youth Festival. You'd go, oh my God, are you going to be kidnapped? You know, you would think people would be mean to you. You thought maybe you might get in trouble not doing anything. But when you come here, everybody's so welcoming and friendly, and everybody wants to talk to you. They want to know what you have to think, and they listen, and they speak very good English as well.
Yeah, actually, I've spoken to quite a bit of the guys from different parts from America Latina, because I also speak Spanish, and from guys from Africa. Unfortunately, I couldn't speak with the guys from China because I don't speak Chinese.
At home, sometimes students would come and they would work for like the summer where I grew up. So I knew a few Russians. I knew they weren't like rude or nasty people.
The new system that has been established, restored, is not working for the working class and for national sovereignty. So that's why there are a number of problems in our country. So we are fighting against that to establish a better, prosperous, and a socialist and prosperous country, Nepal.
So we're here in the food area, and I'm eating with my friend from Tajikistan, as well as with Elizabeth, who's also from the American delegation. And who is our friend? Lisa. Where are you from, Lisa?
I'm from Tajikistan.
Oh, you're also from Tajikistan?
Yes.
All right, very good. Our friends from Tajikistan.
So the man is in the national costume. He's having dinner, maybe lunch. This is our national food, plov, or we say oshipalov. And here's written Tajikistan in Cyrillic. So we Tajiks love food, I mean, culture, and so plov, our national food.
Very good. Jab. That's it. Good. One step. Okay. Step. Okay. Jab. No. Yeah. No. No. Okay. One. Jab. One motion. Okay. 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 Jab. Jab.
It's like so attached, but it's totally different now. We have like his friend, his close friend here, Secretary Lam. He study in France. We also have another secretary studying in the United Kingdom. And like me, I myself, I study in the UK for 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah, before going back to Vietnam.
Oh,
No.
like in like growing up, did you go to college or university there?
I go to I study college and then university undergraduate and postgraduate in UK, and then go back to Vietnam to continue my work.
Very nice. It's really cool. It's very awesome to meet you guys.
Hello, I'm Thomas Michalak, speaking from the Center for Political Innovation.
So yeah, you're going to have to watch the rest of it when the video premieres tomorrow, and you'll get to see everything. You'll get to see everything, but it was really, really great. Shout out to Tom. Shout out to Noah. It's going to be a really, really great video. So if you get a chance, it'll premiere tomorrow at noon on this channel. You can watch A New World is Coming, CPI, at the World Youth Festival 2024, including our meeting with the Russian president, when we got to speak to the Russian president. So yeah, it's going to be great. I hope you all watch that video when it premieres tomorrow. Now, I see a number of super chats have come in. Thank you, and I will start answering them. I don't see any Rumble rants, just super chats. And more super chats are always appreciated. Get me talking. One thing I do want to do before I go further, I want to apologize for all of the talk of PSL. We really need to stop talking about that. It's getting a little bit repetitive, and it doesn't really help us. And we don't, and I actually, one goal I am going to make is to not talk about PSL on these streams, right? They suck. Right. They're not helpful for all the reasons that I went on and on and on about. But honestly, it's getting a little old, and I think people are tired of hearing it. And I think, if anyone asks, I can answer it, of course, but it really shouldn't be the focus of these streams. So I do apologize for that, because it's getting old, and I can tell the audience is tired of it. I'm tired of saying it, and it's not a good look, and we want to keep things positive. Right. So yeah. I will start answering people's questions. And actually, that brings me to the first super chat we got, right? Which is about Jimmy Dore, who I love. And I've been on Jimmy Dore's show before. I appeared on his show to talk about my BreadTube book. We did a whole segment about Russia and the BreadTube book, and it was really, really great. And there's a super chat. I'm not even going to show it on the screen. And it's about some people that were recently on his show. And, there's a lot of people that Jimmy has on his show. Some of them I agree with, some of them I don't agree with. And that it really wouldn't help Jimmy in any way, who is my friend, for me to tell you what I think of every one of those people that was on his show. So I'm just not going to do it. I thank you, Communist Majoritarian. I thank you for what you said. I'm staying away from that. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. I've texted Jimmy Dore, about my perspective on things, but I'm not gonna go there. I've made a decision. Multiple people have sent me what you sent me, Communist Majoritarian. Many people have sent me various versions of what you sent me, and I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. So thank you, though. I do appreciate it. I know you meant well, but we're going to try to keep it positive on here, right? The way you get views on YouTube is you trash other people. You make fun of other people. You have wars and rivalries. And that's why certain people have been desperate to have one with me. But I don't want to play that game. I'm not on here to get a fandom. I'm on here to build a real organization. And CPI, Center for Political Innovation, is a real organization. So, I'm sorry to see some of the things that people have referred to. But, Jimmy's a good friend. I agree with almost everything he says. I don't always agree with things that his guests say. And, that's whatever. So next question. According to a study from JHU, 97.5% of Israeli Judaics are not Semitic in their DNA and have no historical ties to the land. They are European. Well, so that's interesting, right? So I can't confirm this study that you just sent me, right? I can't confirm that study that you sent me. It is worth noting, that there is there are what they call Ashkenazi Jews and there are Sephardic Jews. Sephardic Jews tend to have darker skin and look Middle Eastern. Ashkenazi Jews tend to look European. Now, there are various theories about where the Ashkenazi Jews came from. And there are a number of theories about that. I've heard some people argue that they're actually a group called the Khazars. And honestly, I don't know. And at the end of the day, the color of their skin does not matter. Right? There are Ethiopian Jews in Israel that are black, right? That have Jewish heritage. The reason I oppose Israel is not because of the color of their skin, and it's not because of where their ancestry can be traced back for thousands of years. It's because of what they're doing to the Palestinians. It's because Israel was set up by the British Empire, and it treats the Palestinians very badly. Palestinians are second-class citizens, and right now it's bombing and murdering them. And that's not right. And I feel like that's a non sequitur, right? As much as, right, first of all, what if all of the Israelis could somehow prove that thousands of years ago their ancestors were there? Would that make what they're doing okay? No. And I feel like this is a distraction because it plays into the idea that the problem is the color of people's skin. The problem is whiteness. The problem is not whiteness. It's imperialism. It's colonialism. That's the problem, right? And that, look, what if the British Empire had found a bunch of black people and sent them there to oppress the Palestinians? I'd still be against it. What if the British Empire had found a bunch of Asian people and sent them there to oppress the Palestinians? I'd still be against it, right? And that, part of the reason I am convinced that the left is more sympathetic to China than Russia is because Russia is perceived by woke people as a white country. Now, Russia is not a white country. There are many, many Russians that look Asian. There are many Muslims. There are more Muslims in Russia than in any other non-Muslim country in the world. But yet, the so-called left are convinced that Russia is a white country. And so they are convinced that supporting Russia and standing with Russia against imperialism makes you a white nationalist. That's disgusting. However, I will also say that part of the reason that the right is more sympathetic to Russia and not to China is because they perceive Russia as being a white country. I'll just be honest with you about that. Part of the reason that a lot of people on the right are more open to hearing Russia's perspective is because they also think Russia is a white country. Russia's not a white country, right? Russia was never a colonizer. They never were a colonial power that engaged in colonialism. You can argue that the Russian Empire, but that's not colonialism in the European imperialist sense, right? Russia was never a colonizer, number one. And within Russia, you have many Asian people. You have many people of Muslim faith. I mean, the idea that Russia is a quote unquote white country, it's a multi-ethnic country, and it was never part of the white European colonial world. So we need to get over that. And what's sad is people on the right think it's a white country, and it's not. And people on the left think it's a white country, and it's not. We need to get past this. I am not against white. I am against imperialism. I am against colonialism. I am against exploitation. So the racial hang-up that people in the United States have, where people on the right love all things they perceive as white and are defensive whenever anyone talks about racism, and people on the left hate all things perceived as white, even if they're white themselves, which many of them are. The majority of woke left activists are white, but they have this in their head that they're going to get points for being the most anti-white. Just forget it, right? You know, we do obviously need to acknowledge that in U.S. society, if you are perceived as being of European ancestry, you get some doors opened for you that would be shut to you otherwise. And we don't want to deny that, right? And that as bad as poor white people's lives were, if you changed the color of their skin and made them black or brown on top of everything else, their life would be much worse, right? And we can acknowledge that. We don't want to pretend that people that aren't white don't have a harder time for that reason. They do. But that said, we need to get over the political race fetish in American politics, right? And the political race fetish in American politics, you know, I mean, look, the Ashkenazi Jews in Israel oppress Palestinians just like Sephardic Jews do, just like Ethiopian Jews do. Now, there is discrimination against Ethiopian Jews, but often Ethiopian Jews that are black in Israel become police and become some of the most vicious enforcers of Israel because they want to prove somehow that they are a part of Israel, you know. So just the question of Israel being white, or the question of Israel, are they really descended from it? It's all a distraction, right? We need to get past the racial narrative. We need people to understand what imperialism is. We need to understand what capitalism is. We need people to understand about this global financial system that is making the world poor and grinding us all into poverty. That's what we need to understand, okay? And we need to get past that. So with all due respect, Omar, I'm not trying to insult you or belittle what you raised. It is kind of interesting, and it raises the question, if this study that you presented is generally true, where did these people come from? One thing that I will point out that I think needs to be pointed out is that one thing that must be pointed out is the idea that there is some kind of biological definition of a Jew. That was a central plank of Nazi ideology, right? Is bullshit, right? And the reason for that is because over the course of the Middle Ages, thousands and thousands and literally millions of Jewish people converted to Christianity and married Christians and had children and all of that. And the Nazis had it in their mind that there was this biological Jew, and that is not true. There is not a biological Jew, right? All white European people probably have a little bit of Jewish heritage in them. There is no biological definition of Judaism. And that's important to point out because anti-Semites think there is, right? And they're wrong about that. The important thing, and we quote this in our new textbook in chapter 2, the chapter on Marxism. At the beginning of the chapter, we talk about the Jewish question and Marx's essay and other things, is that Jews existed as a caste in feudal society, right? They were a caste of people who were designated as the money changers or the merchants, right? And whenever they stopped having that role, they liquidated as an ethnic group, and they started marrying and they just liquidated as an ethnic group. And that's really important to understand. There were millions of Jewish people who were living in some part of Europe, and they decided, you know what, we don't need money lenders anymore or whatever. And so they just liquidated and they became Christians and they converted, and that was the end of that. And that happened over and over again throughout Europe. So, you know, the amount of Jewish blood that all European white people have is massive. And, you know, the scientific understanding of the JQ, or the Jewish question, is that Jewish people as a group were a designated caste in feudal society. That's why they existed, right? Is they were preserved as a people, their culture, their religion, because in feudalism, they needed a caste of people that could be, you know, take on the specific role in a feudal society of being money changers or being money handlers, right? And that's why they existed, and they were subjected to special persecution because of that role. They were locked out of society, but they also had certain privileges because of that role and business opportunities. They were allowed access to education, and they were allowed to say things that Christians could be burned at the stake for saying. So it's complicated, but Jewish people, you know, they were locked out of European society for a specific economic reason rooted in feudalism. And the culture that developed and the ideology of Zionism that ultimately developed is rooted in that culture. And Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin both wrote about that extensively. And both of them were of Jewish heritage. And both of them ultimately said the liberation of the working class and the liberation of Jewish people means liquidating the Jewish identity. They ultimately said that the Jewish identity was reactionary and that the only way that you could ultimately free Jewish people from anti-Semitic stigma was to liquidate the Jewish identity, and that attempts to preserve the Jewish identity were reactionary and led to Zionism, and that the culture that developed around the unique role that Jews had in feudal society was not helpful. And that is the Marxist position on the JQ, or the Jewish question. And you can read about it in this book. And the main sources on it that I quote are Marx and Lenin, as well as Abraham Leon. Abram Leon, who wrote the book The Jewish Question. He was a Jewish Marxist who died in the Holocaust. And he wrote a very good book called On the Jewish Question, where he went into detail about this and gave an economic analysis of where the Jews originated in feudal society, etc. And that there is a scientific way of understanding this. And the problem is that most Marxist and leftist groups don't talk about this, right? They are so afraid of being accused of anti-Semitism. They have such a soft, such a I don't know what the right word is, such a careful sensitivity to crypto Zionism and such, that they won't talk about what Marx and Lenin and Abraham Leon and others talked about in great detail, and that Zionism arose out of a culture that was preserved and existed for a certain reason, a culture that and that millions of Jewish people left Judaism when their existence as a caste went away. I mean, there's a whole history of this, and anti-Semitism is one distortion of that. Is a distortion of that history. Zionism is another distortion of that history, and ultimately, the Marxist understanding is that ultimately Jewish people need to just bond with the rest of the working class and fight for the liberation of all working people, and fight for a society without any form of racism, without any form of bigotry. That's pretty basic, right? It's pretty basic, and that the global communist movement strayed from that, unfortunately, during the aftermath of the Second World War. Probably one of the biggest mistakes that was ever made by the Soviet Union and by the Communist Party USA and others was the creation of Israel. And look what the result of that has been. I don't think it takes a genius to realize that was a huge mistake on the part of the global communist movement. So there you go. All right, next question. All righty. Okay, Herb Bryant, thank you for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Always appreciate it. It's very, very appreciated. Thank you. Next question. Just scrolling down. Right. StreamYard needs to, have you ever been on George Galloway's show? Many times I have been on George Galloway's show. It's been a while, and I would love to come on. The door is open. I would be happy to come on again. If he wants to have me on again, all he needs to do is reach out to me, Twitter direct messages. He follows me on Twitter or whatever. I'd be happy to go on his show again. He's retweeted me, recently, and I love George and I love the work that he does. So happy to come on George's show anytime. Love George Galloway. Love his work. All righty. Excuse me. Just coughing. Spring allergies, as they say. Spring allergies. But anyway, thank you for the question. And you can find, if you go to my YouTube channel, search, I've got many George Galloway appearances. After Qasem Soleimani was on, I did an appearance on George Galloway that was very, very widely viewed and very, very good. So what is your prediction of the outcome of the Israel-Palestine conflict? I think Israel is going to come out of the current events more isolated than it has ever been. I think that Israel will never have been as isolated as it is now. Israel is burning bridges and completely isolating itself. It's funny because Obama's big crowning achievement was supposed to be the Iran nuclear deal. And Trump's big crowning achievement was supposed to be the Abraham Accords. And what's happening right now is erasing the Abraham Accords and is erasing the Iran nuclear deal. Both the Iran nuclear deal and the both the Abraham Accords and the Iran nuclear deal were an attempt to try and solidify Israel's existence in the Middle East. And the Iran nuclear deal, Barack Obama hoped that he could boost the reformist wing of Iranian politics. He wanted to make Rouhani and his wing of Iranian politics into, basically Iranian Gorbachevs. Or Iranian Yeltsins, that they would gradually, they would get more American investment and more American money would come in, and then they would gradually dismantle the Islamic Republic. And what happened was the Iran nuclear deal did not end up boosting the reformist wing. It ended up weakening the reformist wing because the USA betrayed it. The Abraham Accords were supposed to be the very beginning of the Arab world and the Muslim world gradually coming to terms with Israel and accepting Israel's existence. And that has completely flopped. So Israel is going to come out of this conflict weaker than it has ever been, and more isolated than it's ever been. And that will help Netanyahu to some degree, because Netanyahu's whole thing is screw the rest of the world. Let's not try to please the rest of the world. Let's just be blatantly selfish. Let's just do blatantly whatever Israel wants. Let's not try to please the rest of the world. That is Netanyahu's approach. But it's going to get harder and harder for Israel to do what it does. And ultimately, I mean, you saw a CIA document that was published by WikiLeaks that predicted the collapse of Israel within the next 50 years. And I think that that is probably true, because among younger Jews, there's not the enthusiasm there once was, right? People aren't moving to Israel. Younger Jews are not moving there, and Israel, its public relations is waning. Yes, there are a lot of fanatical pro-Israel people, but they've always been pro-Israel. They didn't change their minds. No one is changing their minds and becoming pro-Israeli right now. Nobody. And Israel is in decline. And I think that Netanyahu is going to try to preserve the current conflict as long as he possibly can, because it's a way to avoid the identity crisis and the internal strife that Israel is currently having. Netanyahu is opposed by global imperialism. That doesn't make him good. It's just that he represents, kind of like the new right in Europe, he represents a strategy for Israel that is not in the interests of the overall imperialist system, is just in the short-term interest of Israel. And because of that, the imperialists would like to remove him. The Soros folks and the more liberal strategic imperialist wing would like to remove him. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm getting hit with allergies all of a sudden, but there you go. They would like to remove him. And so he needs to create a rally around the flag effect, and he needs to, have Israel be in an all-out conflict. But I don't see Israel coming out of this any stronger. And I think this is part of Israel's overall deterioration. That's what I'm seeing. Geez, I don't know why. It suddenly got hard to talk all of a sudden. Usually I can talk on here 3 or 4 hours, no problem. But all of a sudden my my throat is filling up, and yeah, lemon ginger tea time, says Jenny. I think you're right. Well, I guess since my throat is bothering me, I will. Oh no, there's another super chat. Hold on. There's another super chat I need to answer. Anna Kasparian recently said Raisi ordered the execution of Masha Amini and is despised by Iranians. Anna Kasparian lives in LA in Southern California. She's wealthy, and she can say that, but I'm just telling you that the Islamic Republic is wildly popular in Iran, has a huge base of support. Iran is about a third. There's a third of the people that are against the Islamic Republic. They don't really want to do anything about it. They're just, they lived through, a lot of them, at least their parents remember the revolution and how much chaos there was. They don't want that to happen again. And then there's excuse me. And then there's a third of the population that are more or less sympathetic to the Islamic Republic. They may not necessarily agree with it, but they think it improved things. They think it's better than what was there before. They like that it's opposing Israel, etc. And then there's a third of people in Iran that are diehard fanatical supporters of the revolution. People that are in the Basij councils, people that are in the Revolutionary Guard. And with that, with that setup, that's basically how Iran is: a third, a third, a third. And there's 2/3 that there's one third that is against the revolution but has really no passion. There's another third that is for the revolution but not that excited about it. And then there's a third of people that are diehard, fanatical supporters of the revolution. Will die, will become martyrs. And based on that, the Islamic Republic's not going to fall. And that's what I've observed, having been there, right? It's about, like I said, a third, a third, a third. So, I think that Anna Kasparian, again, and I heard that Cornel West's wife was saying anti-Iran stuff as well, and was calling for regime change in Iran, was celebrating Raisi's death, right? You have to oppose imperialism, right? Whatever flaws Iran may have, and Iran certainly has room for improvement in terms of human rights, and there are problems there. I'm not going to pretend Iran is a paradise, that their legal system is exactly what I would advocate or something. Iran has big problems. And they're the first to tell you that. They need reform. They need to modernize, etc. But imperialism is always the enemy, right? And the fact that they oppose the imperialists, the fact that they've used, central planning to build up their economy, they're friends with Russia, they're friends with China, they are supporting the Palestinians, they have supported revolutionary anti-colonial and anti-imperialist movements around the world. Iran is on the right side of history. Iran is a force opposing imperialism. And on that basis, I think that they should be supported. And I made a whole film in Iran, which you can see on my website. If you go to my website, calebmaupin.net, you can watch, the 3 films that have been made, 2 from Peter Coffin and 1 by Iranian television that I made. My website, calebmaupin.net. Check it out. calebmaupin.net. And you go to films, you can see where it is. So there you go. There you go, folks. Yeah, I think I probably need to end it now just because my throat is suddenly messed up. But let me just mention, this was a huge success, and I'm very, very proud of this. I think this was a great intervention. So it was, and this was a collective effort, right? I wrote most of the pamphlet, but Peter Coffin's edits really improved it. The cover that Steve made was amazing. The layout that Carl Payne made was absolutely phenomenal. The distribution that we got, the contributions, many members sent me $10, $20 to help cover the printing costs. This was a huge victory. And the fact that we just blanketed, saturated the Libertarian Convention with these, it was great. It was absolutely great. And I cannot tell you how proud I was of our community to have a beautiful pamphlet like this representing our organization to distribute at the Libertarian Convention. I am so proud of what we did. And I think we accomplished something really, really amazing. And we went there, and I think that the payout, in terms of allies and friends, is going to be a lot longer than we think. I think for a long time, people are going to be remembering this. There will be people years from now that will say, oh, wait, are you the people that had the growth pamphlet? So, I want to thank you all for all that you did. The book version of this, which is going to have a couple other pieces in it, will be up on Amazon soon. Carl is working on the layout. That'll be up on Amazon for purchase pretty soon. So if you'd like to offset the print costs, it did cost quite a bit of money to print, all the copies of this we printed. So if you'd like to help out offset the print costs, you can still send a contribution via Cash App. I'm still Caleb Maupin 22 on Cash App. Contributions are still appreciated. If you would like to help cover the costs, always appreciated. Quick thing. I'm supposed to announce that if you are in Australia, David Fox is having a study group of the new CPI manual. And he's planning a study group. So send me an email. I'll connect you to David Fox. He's going to have a study group of the CPI manual. So David Fox is doing great organizing out in Australia. And he's doing a study group with our new CPI textbook, Out of the Movement to the Masses, organizing, anti-imperialist organizing in America. So that's happening, and that's pretty great. So, good things are happening. Our organization is marching ahead. We're in the process of getting ready for a big outreach educational campaign that's coming up. That's very exciting. So, thank you for everything, everybody. I'm going to put on the closing music, but as I said, if you want to help me offset the cost of the pamphlet, you can Cash App me. Cash App donations are always appreciated. We are going to wrap up. I'll be back tomorrow night. Make sure you tune in to watch the World Youth Festival piece that'll be airing on this channel, premiering at noon. And on that note, folks, I'm putting on the closing music. I think we're wrapping this up. So, yeah, let me just put on the closing music here. New upsurge in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression. But the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. And while the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today.